Hey, so this is Kayla, I am Kayla, and today we are going to talk about why did I get dentures at 31 years old. Trigger warning, I have a sense of humor, and I like to make jokes with pretty much anything. So if you are easily offended or sensitive, I would suggest possibly turning off this video now because I'm very honest and playful, and I'm going to be honest and playful. Did I lose my teeth because I was moonlighting as a chemist and I broke the golden rule? Never get high on your own supply. Is it because I'm actually a 70-year-old woman who made a deal with the devil to stay young, but I still aged in my mouth? Is it because I didn't take care of my teeth and I ate lots of sugar and I never brushed them? I don't know. I won't go. Is it because I was pregnant and my son stole all my teeth? I'm supposed to be the tooth fairy. If you guessed any of those, you are super duper wrong. Yeah, really wrong. The truth is, I will start from the beginning. So, I was always an obese child. Yep, I was a little chunky butt. That is me going to kindergarten. Maybe it was first grade. Taking a look again. I've always been big as the life. And I was always overweight as a child. I couldn't make my own choices. I didn't make my own decisions. I didn't control what food was brought into and out of the house. That's not exactly my fault. Now, what happened when I was older, that is my fault. I went through periods of depression and sadness, and I always associated food with emotions. So I didn't control my emotions right, and I had a very hard childhood. So I was obese. I ended up dropping out of high school because I absolutely hated it. I went to a rich school in upstate New York, and not that people made fun of me, but I just was uncomfortable. The desks, they weren't big enough to hold me. I had to be seated in the special, like the teacher's pet desk, because I couldn't fit in the desks, like the desks that are connected to the chairs. So I was really uncomfortable, and I hated school. And although I always pretend I'm stupid because I get further in life that way, but I'm actually intelligent. I was able to never go to school and then go to summer school, passed all my classes with flying A pluses, and graduate to the next grade until finally I just hated it and I didn't want to do it anymore. So fast forward, I am morbidly obese at this point, and I decided, here's a picture of that. This was when I was in high school. Yeah, there you go. So I actually went back and decided that I was going to get a GED and that I was going to go to school for hair. And I fell out of love right before I was about to graduate. Like, I literally had a month left of cosmetology school, and I decided to leave that and go to culinary school instead. So my family had moved down to South Carolina, and I was still in upstate New York finishing culinary school, and I was getting bigger and bigger by the day, and nothing I did at that point, like once the ball was rolling, nothing I could do at that point would bring me down. Like, I tried to diet, I tried to starve myself, I tried to eat healthy and exercise as much as possible, but I never could lose the weight. And that brought me to the point that I'm getting to. When I was, 22 years old, I think it was 9 years ago, I had gotten a really good job working at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. So I see this lady and she keeps getting skinnier and skinnier, and I wanted in on that deal. So I asked her what she was doing to lose the weight. She advised me she had gastric bypass. And so immediately I jump on Google and I want to know, how can I get it too? She told me insurance pays for it at 100% pretty much, and that her life has been amazing ever since. So I jumped on that bandwagon. I did everything you needed to do to have surgery, and that's where mistakes were made. I don't see this lightly. I'm a very positive person, but having this surgery was one of the biggest regrets of my life. And here's why. So I go through, and at this point I am 457 pounds. You heard me. 457 pounds. And I wanted to be 150, 170 like the normal people were. So I go through, lose 50 pounds, 49, 50 pounds in order to get the surgery. I did that in about 2.5 months, which was like serious dedication. I wanted the surgery so bad that nothing was going to stop me. So I lose the weight, I have surgery. Immediately following surgery, I get out, and it was like the day before Halloween. They told me, go ahead, and on the second day you can take a shower. And I kind of felt icky at that point, so I took a shower. And for the first time in my life, I blacked out. I didn't even know what blacking out was. I thought something is really wrong. I didn't know what was going on, so I fell in the shower. And I got up and fell again. And then I got up and I fell again. And after that third time of falling, I knew I needed to get out. So I still had soap in my hair. I still was, doing all the normal shower activities. And I know that I'm in trouble. So I grab a towel, I open the curtain, I take one step out, and boom, right down on my face. I fell on the countertop and I busted all of my front teeth. Just broken down to nothing. Nubs, just broken. And I go to the emergency room. They had to put stitches. If you can see right here, there's a scar. And then if you look really closely on my lip, there's bumps. I had 11 stitches in my face and in my lip. So they're still pulling out pieces of the countertop out of my lip, which was wood. Of course, I have to go through and get shots and all this other stuff, but this left me in a detrimental state. It left me, and and even though I was big, I guess you could say I was vain because I cared about what I looked like, and I didn't want to look like a horrendous mess. I was already fat. Now all my teeth were broken in the front too, and before this, I had perfect teeth. Perfect. I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and at that point, there's nothing wrong. They were perfect. They were white. They were straight. I was really blessed at that point. I'm in the emergency room, get the stitches. The next day is Halloween, and I'm, shocked and in awe at even what just happened. So in panic mode, I think, okay, well, it's Halloween. I got to take my nephew to the mall to go trick-or-treating or trunk-or-treating or whatever that's called. And I think, quick, what can I do? And I put a doctor's mask over my face, and I think, well, at least it's Halloween. I'll blend out while I'm in public, right? But it left me in a really bad place. And it left me depressed and sad and not knowing even what to do. So I immediately started calling around dentists. I went to church, and the pastor had told me about an amazing dentist that we actually had as part of our church. So I make an appointment. I spend thousands and thousands and thousands to get them fixed. It was to be crowns, because everything else was perfect. I didn't have any issues. And After getting them all fixed, I then couldn't afford the crowns. I was single. I was making a decent living, but I still had bills to pay. So I didn't have the opportunity to go get the crowns. And on top of that, the surgeon that I went to actually have the gastric bypass, he made the opening to my stomach too small. So for the first year after I had the gastric bypass, on top of breaking all my front teeth, I threw up everything that I physically ate. Everything. The only thing that I could do was drink protein drinks. It was the only food that I could keep down, and I thought it was my fault. I thought, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Or maybe, I ate too fast, or I ate too much, or I ate the wrong food. So I always put that blame on me. I don't blame other people. I take responsibility. So I assumed it was my fault. I go to an appointment and then come to realize that I had to have an endoscopy to check out what had happened. And he blew up the opening to my stomach to the point where I could eat. That's where he sort of admitted fault. He admitted that the opening to my stomach was created too tightly for food to actually pass through, and that I would need to have a balloon blown up so that it would stretch that out, which actually ended up causing more scar tissue, if that makes sense. Way to go, medical community. You know where it's at. So back to seriousness. So for the past 9 years, I have been throwing up a lot. I mean, almost daily. Depends. Some things are worse than others, and people are generally at my, 9 years post gastric bypass, generally they've gained a whole lot of weight back. And I have not, because I can't eat like a normal human being. So what I can eat is, high protein, high quality. Everything that I eat does need to be dense and nutrient packed in order just for me to survive at this point. So there's that. Now, while I was pregnant 5 years ago. It was the worst of the 9 years. I was actually throwing up probably 6 times a day. I had heartburn, and I was nauseous, I was sick, I was not feeling it. And so during my pregnancy, I was probably throwing up 6 times a day versus my one, normal time a day. 1, maybe 2. So the acidity, if you have an acidic stomach, which I had GERD before I had the surgery, and if you have an acidic stomach, then your mouth is going to be acidic. And what that did was that ate the enamel of my teeth to the point that it did not matter how much I brushed or how much I flossed. It was going to happen, and there was nothing I was going to do to be able to stop that train. At this point, about 3 years ago, when I moved to Texas, I lost my insurance through the state of North Carolina. I did have Medicaid, and while I was pregnant and after I was pregnant, I was lucky. I mean, I was very blessed to have had Medicaid, and they paid for partials. And the reason they paid for partials is because while I was pregnant and throwing up so often, I started having teeth that were breaking in the back. It was painful. And on top of being nauseous and sick all the time, I was dealing with a whole lot of pain. So while I was pregnant, they took all of my back teeth because they were unsavable. They were just, at this point, five years of throwing up every day. And then while I was pregnant, throwing up multiple times a day, there was nothing they could do to save them. So they just kept pulling the back teeth. I had gone in for multiple visits, and they took them all. So fast forward, I'm all healed up. A year or 2 later, I get the partials done, which were just these back teeth right here, because my front teeth were okay. As the back ones had gotten taken away, they had shifted and spread out, and just everything. It was really a mess, and it wasn't good, and I wasn't happy, and I hated the way I looked, and it depressed me, and I just wasn't in a good place. Also, I had to have the front tooth removed. So I also had a partial with the back teeth right here and then that single front tooth. So I was able to cope and live, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. I just dealt with the gap that was in there, but I wasn't happy about it. So fast forward, I moved to Texas. I lose my insurance. My husband at the time, he was working, but they didn't offer insurance. And in the state of Texas, if you make more than like $100 a month, then you don't qualify for any type of assistance. And even if you do qualify for assistance, they do nothing for dental if you are over the age of 21 or not if you're pregnant. If you're pregnant, they will hook you up with something. But if you're not pregnant, and I was not going to have another baby just to get my teeth fixed. That would have been a long-term, trade. So I just dealt without it, and we were barely scraping by. We didn't have much money left over, so we definitely didn't have the money for me to go and get the partial, to add another tooth. So eventually this tooth snapped off, and then this tooth snapped off, and then this tooth snapped off, and then one more. I think that's 5, right? 5 teeth broke straight to the gum lines, and I didn't have the money to go get it fixed, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a license. My license got suspended because I was speeding in North Carolina right before I moved, so I couldn't pay for that, and I was basically in a world of screwed, just really screwed. So that is where we were at. Up until 11 months ago, when I had actually had already done the research and decided that this was going to be the route for me because there was no saving these teeth. I had watched people like Bill Westland and Callan Jacks and Lillian, and who else did I watch? A couple people. I watched a couple people, and they helped me make the decision that I was going the denture route. So I go to the dentist, and she writes up a plan for me. And that plan, and this might not seem expensive, but with the discount, highly discounted, it was going to be like $3,100. And that didn't include permanents. So with permanents, it would have been around $4,000, $4,500, something like that. And at this time, I was separated. So I didn't have a job. I didn't have the ability to pay for that $4,500. And I didn't know what to do. So I literally just sat depressed. And I didn't leave the house. And I didn't go out. And I didn't have fun. And I didn't have friends. And I didn't do anything. I literally just sat here in my own sadness. And I vowed that I was not going to do that anymore. I was going to figure out a way to get this done. And I got blessed with my mom being able to help me out. But I'm now here to tell you that times can be hard and times can be tough. And you might have no options and no ability to go do this. And I've been there. I can tell you from experience. And I don't want to cry. I am soft, so forgive me if I do, but I know what it's like to hurt and to be in pain every single day and to not be able to do anything about it. And so I vowed that I would not drag anybody into misery, but that I would encourage and build people up. And I would tell them that it was going to be okay and that I will be here for you. If you need a friend, if you need a support system, I am here for you because I know what pain is like. I know what depression is like. I know what anxiety is like. And I know what sitting in your house like a hermit crab is like. And I don't want anybody to deal with that. Even people I can't stand. They don't deserve that. So, I finally got in my dentures. I'm, working on a way to pay my mother back. I want to make a plan to be able to help people out. One of my dreams is to be a millionaire in this world. And not so that I can go buy a Gucci bag or go buy Prada and drive a Bentley. I don't care about that stuff. I mean, it would be nice. I like stuff like that, but I don't need that. So I have vowed that when I start making money, I'm going to fund people's dentures at 100% as a gift, because nobody deserves to feel pain or to feel helpless or to feel like they can't the way that I felt. And if you've ever felt like, it's never going to happen for me or I don't have the money, I'm telling you, I prayed so hard and I fasted and I sought advice and help, and the support community that were on Facebook, they all encouraged me, and I'm going to pass that forward, and I'm going to make a difference in this world, and I'm determined to make a difference in this world. I've been blessed in order to bless other people. So although I joke around and I play and I'm playful, everything that I talk about and everything that I've been through is an obstacle that I was able to overcome. And like I said before, I'm no one special. But if I can overcome it, you can overcome it. So it doesn't matter if your teeth rotted from genetics or, drug use. I don't care how it happened. I won't even ask you how it happened, how you lost your teeth happened. And I will support you. So you're not alone. You're not the only one. And bad things do happen to good people. They do. I'm living proof that things happen to good people. I love the Lord. I help people. I care. I'm considerate. I don't lie. I'm honest to a fault. And through all of that, things have come up. And it made me stronger. And it made me better. And it will do the same thing for you. So it doesn't matter how you lost your teeth. Good things will come. Just stay positive. Okay? So I don't really have anything to add to this story. It's already probably really long, and I'm going to try and edit out as much as I can. Until next time, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. I always answer back to comments and questions. And until next time, my loves, smile bright.